Welcome back, Guggeners family. Paul Scholes claims Mikel Arteta was forced into signing Arsenal star. The full story, context, and updated reality. In modern football, few things generate as much debate as a high-profile transfer that divides opinion long after the ink has dried on the contract. At Arsenal, a club rebuilding its identity under Mikel Arteta, every major signing is scrutinized not only by supporters but by former players, rival fans, and pundits across the football media landscape. One such debate has been reignited following comments from Manchester United legend Paul Scholes, who has claimed that Arteta was effectively forced into signing one particular Arsenal star, a claim that has sparked renewed discussion about recruitment pressure, boardroom influence, tactical compromise, and the fine margins between success and failure at the elite level. Scholes' comments did not emerge in isolation. They come at a time when Arsenal are once again competing at the top end of the Premier League, balancing domestic ambition with European demands and facing the relentless expectation that accompanies any club attempting to dethrone Manchester City. With injuries, form fluctuations, and the January transfer window looming, the idea that Arteta may have been compelled into a major decision rather than acting purely on conviction has resonated strongly with fans and analysts alike. This article explores Paul Scholes' claim in full detail, examines the circumstances surrounding the signing in question, analyzes Arteta's position of the time, and updates the situation with a clear-eyed look at how the player has since performed and what it means for Arsenal going forward. The claim, what Paul Scholes actually said and why it matters. Paul Scholes has never been a pundit afraid of blunt assessments. Known for his technical brilliance as a player and his no-nonsense approach as a commentator, Scholes has repeatedly questioned Arsenal's recruitment strategy under Arteta, particularly when it comes to expensive, high-profile additions that appear to blur tactical roles. In his assessment, Scholes suggested that Arteta found himself under immense pressure from expectations, from Arsenal's hierarchy, and from the competitive environment of the Premier League to make a statement signing. According to Scholes, this pressure resulted in Arteta being forced into a deal that may not have been entirely aligned with his original vision or tactical preference. The significance of such a claim lies not in whether Scholes is definitively right or wrong, but in what it implies about Arsenal's internal dynamics. If a manager is meticulous and ideologically driven as Arteta was indeed pushed into a signing, it raises broader questions about how much autonomy he truly has, how modern football clubs balance commercial value with sporting logic, and whether Arsenal's recruitment model is still evolving. The Arsenal context, a club rebuilding under intense scrutiny. To understand why Scholes' claim gained traction, it is essential to revisit the period in which the signing occurred. Arsenal were emerging from years of inconsistency, drifting away from the Champions League places and struggling to define a clear footballing identity following Arsene Wenger's departure. Arteta arrived with a long-term project in mind, a possession-dominant, tactically flexible side built around technical security, positional discipline, and emotional control. Progress was evident. Arsenal returned to the Champions League, mounted a genuine title challenge, and began attracting elite-level players once again. But progress breeds pressure. Once Arsenal proved they could compete, the expectation shifted rapidly from development to delivery. Finishing second was no longer enough. Near misses were reframed as failures. Every transfer window became a referendum on ambition, and it was within this climate that the signing Paul Scholes later criticized was completed. The player at the center of the debate. While Scholes did not frame his criticism as a personal attack, his comments were clearly aimed at a player whose role, price tag, and perceived necessity sparked immediate debate upon arrival. The signing was expensive, high-profile, and symbolic of Arsenal's attempt to bridge the gap between contenders and champions. From Scholes' perspective, the deal represented a move driven by circumstance rather than clarity, a reaction to market conditions, rival spending, and the narrative surrounding Arsenal's need for another level of quality. Critics questioned where the player truly fit. Was he a midfielder, a forward, a tactical experiment? Supporters were split between those who trusted Arteta implicitly and those who worried that the signing diluted the balance of the side. Was Arteta really forced, examining the pressures at play? The word forced is powerful, and it deserves careful examination. In elite football, no manager signs a player at gunpoint, yet pressure manifests in subtler ways. There was pressure from a fan base demanding marquee signings, a board eager to demonstrate ambition, comparisons with Manchester City's depth and quality, media narratives questioning Arsenal's ability to take the final step. Arteta, still relatively young as a manager, was also acutely aware that momentum is fragile. Miss one window, fail to strengthen decisively, and a promising project can stall. In that sense, Scholes' claim speaks less to coercion and more to constraint, the reality that modern managers operate within a web of expectations that narrow their options. tactical compromise, or strategic evolution. One of the core arguments behind Scholl's critique is that the signing represented a tactical compromise rather than a natural evolution. Arteta's Arsenal thrived on structure, spacing, and role clarity. Introducing a player whose strengths lie between traditional positions inevitably required adjustment. Supporters of the signing argued that elite teams need multifunctional players capable of interpreting space creatively. Critics countered that Arsenal already had balance and that the move disrupted existing chemistry. The truth lies somewhere in between. Arteta did not abandon his principles. Instead, he adapted them, sometimes successfully, sometimes awkwardly. The signing forced Arsenal to experiment, reshaping midfield rotations, pressing triggers, and attacking patterns. Early struggles and the weight of expectation. As is often the case with expensive signings, early performances were scrutinized intensely. Every misplaced pass, mischance, or subdued display was amplified. The narrative quickly hardened. This was a signing Arsenal didn't need, a player Arteta didn't truly want, and proved that Scholl's skepticism was justified. Yet such judgments often ignore context. Adaptation takes time. Tactical fluency cannot be downloaded instantly. Arsenal's system demands extraordinary positional intelligence, and even established stars have struggled initially under Arteta. The turning point: performance, confidence, and role definition. As the season progressed, the picture became more nuanced. The player in question began to show why Arteta valued him, arriving in decisive areas, contributing defensively, and offering physical presence that Arsenal had previously lacked. This evolution complicates Scholl's claim. If Arteta was forced into the signing, he nevertheless committed fully to integrating the player. He adjusted structures, defended him publicly, and persisted through criticism. That persistence is telling. It suggests belief, even if the circumstances surrounding the transfer were not ideal. Paul Scholes versus Mikel Arteta, a clash of football philosophies. Scholl's criticism also reflects a deeper philosophical divide. As a former midfielder in one of the most dominant Premier League sides ever assembled, Scholes values technical purity and positional certainty. Arteta, influenced by Pep Guardiola, prioritizes control, versatility, and systemic cohesion. Where Scholes sees compromise, Arteta sees adaptation. Where Scholes questions necessity, Arteta satisfies Magini's. Neither perspective is inherently wrong. They simply represent different interpretations of how elite teams should evolve. Updated reality. Has the signing justified itself? With the benefit of time, the conversation has shifted. The player has contributed goals, tactical flexibility, and big game moments that Arsenal have continued to compete at the highest level, and Arteta's authority within the club appears stronger than ever. Does that invalidate Scholl's claim? Not entirely. It is possible for a manager to be pressured into a signing and still make it work. It is possible for a deal to be born from compromise and mature into success. Football history is full of such examples. The broader lesson for Arsenal's transfer strategy. What this debate ultimately highlights is the complexity of squad building at the elite level. Arsenal are no longer outsiders, they are contenders. With that status comes expectation, scrutiny, and risk. Arteta must balance immediate competitiveness, long-term squad evolution, financial responsibility, external pressure. Scholl's comments serve as a reminder that even successful projects are not immune to missteps or moments of uncertainty. Conclusion: forced or formed by circumstance. Paul Scholl's claim that Arteta was forced into signing an Arsenal star is provocative, but it is not without context. It reflects the reality of modern football, where managers operate under relentless pressure and where recruitment decisions are rarely black and white. Whether the signing was a compromise or a calculated risk, it has become part of Arsenal's journey, a symbol of a club pushing its boundaries in pursuit of greatness. In the end, Arteta will be judged not by the circumstances of individual transfers, but by what Arsenal become as a collective. And for now, despite debate, doubt, and dissenting voices, Arsenal remain firmly on the path he has laid out, forced or not. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share.